Good evening and welcome to Alan's Italy. Tonight's show is going to be another show about Venice, which I'll talk about in just a moment. First, on a personal note, yesterday was kind of a big day in my life because after almost 3.5 years of being fully retired, I decided to return to college teaching, and yesterday was the day where I first met the students, and it was, it was a really amazing experience. I've always loved teaching, and I always felt that, nobody is born to teach because you don't roll out of bed one day and say, now I'm a teacher. I was trained when I first started teaching by very, very good people, very good teachers and teacher trainers. And, it took me many years to develop the skills that I really needed to be a really good teacher. I think I am a pretty good teacher. So it's hard to say I was a born teacher because no one really is, but I certainly have this incredible, fondness for it, and it gives me a tremendous amount of enjoyment. And yesterday was really great. And I'm commuting into the city, so it's a 3-hour trip, which is no picnic, but I don't even mind it because I know that I'm going there for that job, and it's really great. So I just wanted to say that since it is hopefully a big milestone in my life, and I'll be able to continue it. Okay, so tonight's show. Tonight's show is called Three Hotels, the story of three hotels in Venice, and or a story of three hotels in Venice. I shouldn't say the story because there are probably other stories. And first, a little background. When Laura and I plan a trip to Italy, it usually the process usually begins, I wouldn't say a full year before, because we don't really start thinking about it as soon as, as we're on the plane coming home. But I would say, we allow a month, and then 11 months before the actual trip, we begin planning. And the planning usually consists of simply talking about what we'd like to do, where we'd like to go, and it's a very general discussion, and it takes place over the course of a few weeks, and we do that. And then I usually work out, I look at my financial resources, and I look at, a few hotels and so on, and then I come up with a plan. Usually that's about 9 to 10 months before a trip. I'll come up with a tentative plan, and sometimes we immediately move to making the arrangements, the airplane and the hotel. Sometimes we sit on it for a while just to see if we still feel the same way. This trip that we took to Venice, that we took in May and June, we actually had planned several months before, and it then changed when we found out that Laura was in the Biennale, and it kept changing as we found out different things that we wanted to do. So this is the story of that situation. And, as you could see, these are the three, and what happened was, during the 7 days that we were in Venice, we stayed in 3 different hotels, which is very unusual. We had certainly never done that, and not only did we never do it, but I never even, promoted the idea for people that I was planning trips for. People would say to me, I'd like to get a flavor of a city. Can we stay in a couple of different places? And I'd say, you could do whatever you want, but personally, I like to really get into one place and stay there. So this was very unusual for me, and I'm not the kind of guy who really makes changes very easily, so this was kind of hard for me. But this is how, and these are the 3 hotels: Pensione Accademia, which is the place I've stayed in since 2001, and then the Palazzo Bembo, which was the B&B that was right above, at the very top level of the palazzo where Laura's exhibition was in the Venice Biennale, and then the Palazzo Pruili, which I'll tell the story of when we get to it. Those were the 3 hotels. And I thought I would talk a little bit about the evolution of the story. So the first plan called for 7 nights in Venice. We actually had planned other places as well, as I've probably spoken about, such as Orvieto, which is in Umbria, and we were in Florence for a week. But when we were in Venice, this is what we had planned. We were going to spend 3 nights at the Pensione Accademia, and then we were going to Bolzano. So we were going to rent a car and drive through the Dolomites to Bolzano, staying at one of our favorite hotels ever, the Hotel Park Lauren. And then we were going to go to Lake Como, to the town of Varenna, and spend 2 nights at our favorite hotel on our favorite, relaxing kind of trip. And then we were going to fly home from Milan. And then, of course, Laura found out that she was at the Palazzo Bembo in the Biennale. And I immediately, and I would say quite impetuously, changed the entire plan, called the Pensione Accademia, and said, we'd like to stay there for 7 days. And at first they said, you can't stay there because we have no rooms. They said, it's the Venice Biennale and there are no rooms left. So I said, I'd like to speak with the manager. And he was on vacation, and when he came back, he said, of course you could have your rooms, because he knows me for many years. So we had a trip planned for 7 nights at the Pensione Accademia, we were really looking forward to it. Then we found out that the Palazzo Bembo had a B&B, so we decided to call the Palazzo Bembo and ask them if they could give us, 3 nights, as you could see there. And they said yes, so we were going to stay 2 nights at the Pensione Accademia and then 3 nights at the Palazzo Bembo. Then we decided we were going to leave Venice and go to the town of Padua, which is a place I've never been and I've always wanted to go, to stay 2 nights at the Hotel Verdi, which I had done research about. So that was the plan for quite a while, really. And then when we got to Venice, it just became so hectic being in Venice and all the things we were doing that we realized we should have stayed in Venice all 7 nights. And we loved the hotel Palazzo Bembo. So we asked for an extra night, and they gave us that. And we said, can you give us 1 extra night additional? And they said, no, we can't. But our sister hotel, the owners own 2 hotels, we can get you 1 night, the Palazzo Pruili. And at first I was reluctant, but then I said, okay, we'll try it. And they said, we'll help you to get resettled at the new hotel. So the final plan for the 7 nights in Venice turned out to be exactly what you see there, which is 2 nights at the Pensione Accademia, 4 nights at the Palazzo Bembo, 1 night at the Palazzo Pruili. Okay, so here's our arrival in Venice. And of course, this is what Venice looks like from an airplane. And we didn't take this picture. This comes off the internet. And this is quite amazing, to view what Venice really, and it really looks like that. If you can get up into the Campanile in the Piazza San Marco, this is kind of what you see. But, an airplane flying over it, this is what they see as well. Quite amazing. And this is the causeway that leads to Venice. And we took the train, and that's, of course, a Eurostar, which is the high-speed rail transportation. And you arrive right here at the train station in Venice. And when you come out of those steps, you see at the top there, you see this incredible sight. I've always loved this, and I've shown this to you many, many times. And I always show this when I do my lectures and continuing ed programs. This is what greets the eye when you first arrive in Venice, and it's just wonderful because you get to see, the canals and the people walking and the beautiful lampposts there and all the different means of transportation in Venice, the gondola, the motorboat, and the vaporetto, all in the same picture. And this is the first hotel, which this is the hotel that I have stayed in and I love and I've talked about. And this is I have a video, and I'm gonna keep the sounds of the video on and maybe talk above it. So, that'll be kind of fun for me anyway. So here it is. This is the Vaporetto ride that we take from the train station to the Pensione Accademia. It's not the entire Vaporetto ride because this is only the very last part of it. probably just after we go under the Rialto, and we're headed towards the or is that the Rialto over there? No, this is going to the Rialto. So this is the northern part of the trip to the Pensione Accademia. No, that's it's hard to tell because there's construction on that bridge. That is the Accademia Bridge. That's not the Rialto. I saw those. You saw those little. It looks like little houses over there. From a distance, to me, it looked like the Rialto, but it's not the Rialto. It's the Accademia Bridge. So this is the last part of our trip after we've exited from the Rialto, headed towards the hotel, and that kind of takes us to the Vaporetto stop. And this is one of my favorite videos. This is me lugging taking the luggage up the steps to the Pensione Accademia. So this is us actually walking into the hotel.
The bridge to the hotel.
And you have to walk up this bridge.
I'm just carrying all this luggage up.
Which is not easy. No bridge in Venice is easy, but I'm lugging up all the luggage because Laura's taking the video, so she can't do both. And what I do here is I actually point to the hotel that friends of ours were staying in, which is down that street you see there. And this is the walkway to get to the hotel. And I'm talking, as you can hear, I'm like sort of talking to Laura along the way, but that's okay. And there I'm pointing out the restaurant that we love.
Oh, look, this building's under renovation too.
Yeah, look at it. Renovation 4 years ago.
Really? I don't remember it being like that. Yeah.
As you can see, we travel pretty light. That's about as light as you could get.
What?
That picture, actually, I'm saying to Laura, it's only a 3-star hotel, even though it looks like a 5-star hotel.
Lovely patio, very nice. Get breakfast here, it should be pretty nice.
Oh, and there's that outdoor
There are
little
the gardens.
nook over there.
Right up to the entrance where we are about to check in to the hotel. That's the end of the video. These are some pictures of, this is what it would look like looking backwards from the point, we're about to turn into the hotel, looking back at the front gate. And you can see it's a very beautiful patio. That's another view of the breakfast room. Breakfast area. It's not a room. Actually, the room is right next to it when it rains. And that's the entrance to the hotel that you've seen many times. And there's me speaking with one of the reception people, and they're always very friendly and very helpful in getting places. That's what's going on there. This is one of the lobbies. And, you could kind of sit here and relax. And in the winter, which I've been to only a couple of times, they have that fire going. So that's a pretty nice spot to kind of relax. And that's the door leading out to the garden. And that's another view of one of the lobby areas. In fact, this is the hotel room we have, which is the same room all the time, room 55, which we like because it gives you that view looking straight ahead, which is I always found quite beautiful. This view looking towards the left, you get a view of the Grand Canal, which is in the distance. And the next view is the view looking in the other direction. So this is, quite a nice room that I've kind of been to a lot of different rooms over the past 11 or 12 years. So this is my favorite. And this is probably the best part of the hotel because you get this garden to sit in, and not many hotels in Venice have this. In fact, the other two hotels did not. So this is one of the things I just didn't want to give up, and that was the fact that you're able to sit in this beautiful garden, not knowing where you are because there's no way of telling where you are when you're in this garden. It's so secluded and so relaxing. And that's the entrance going back into the hotel. And you know, one of my problems is that I have a hard time cutting pictures out. So the editing is not good because I love this so much. I never want to edit out a picture. This is the picture that was taken. Laura and I were a little early for the exhibition at the Palazzo Bembo, so we decided that we were going to sit in the garden and have a glass of wine and something to eat because we hadn't eaten yet. And this is the picture that we took that was taken by one of the reception people of us just before we were about to get onto a motorboat to lead us to the Palazzo. And this is really the second hotel. This is the Palazzo Bembo at the Rialto area. And this is the trip we took on the motorboat to get to that point. And you know, at this point, you know, this is a beautiful video because, well, first of all, it's not a great day because the days we spent in Venice at this time were kind of overcast and a little rainy, so it was like not, you know, the most ideal weather we've ever had. But it's still a remarkable video, as you can see, as we approach the Rialto Bridge. And right now what's going through my mind is, gee, I'm staying at a hotel I've never stayed at in Venice, and I'm a little apprehensive, to tell you the truth. But, you know, I was excited because it's always good to stay at different places.
Ah, that's better.
Again, what the motorboat driver did at that point was to put down the, you know, there's
right
this
here?
awning that they have up to protect you from the sun, and he realized I was taking a video, so he put that down for me. He thought that might be helpful. And of course, as you could see, the Grand Canal is extremely congested. And you know, in the afternoon, this is the way it is. You know, there's usually a lot of commercial vehicles, and there's motorboats and vaporettos, a lot of activity going on in Venice in the afternoon.
Wow, what traffic.
You see how close the motorboats are coming to each other. And there's the Palazzo coming into view on the right side. And remember that if we were on a vaporetto, we would have pulled up where that vaporetto is that you see in the picture. But we just kind of went past it because motorboats have to stay away from that spot. And there's the Palazzo. And the two floors that are in the exhibition are the two floors that have the banners on the balconies there. On the very top level was the, that you see there, was the B&B. There it is all the way on top. Those little windows. And I always like this video because it gives you an idea as to a motorboat actually docking. And this took quite a while because he's got to, like, you know, he's conferring with somebody who's directing him. And it's like very touchy to kind of negotiate between these barriers here. You can see he's moving a little more to the left. If I remember correctly, he actually, that's the entrance to the Palazzo over there, straight ahead. And he goes past that because he's not allowed to dock. He's only allowed to dock right over there by that spot with that other motorboat. So now he's going to make a right turn. And that's what it looked like looking straight ahead. One last look at the Rialto from there. And then he's pulling in to the dock. And that's where the video will be. And at this point, we disembark, which is not easy. So usually there's somebody on the dock that gives us a hand. Plus, the driver himself is always very, very courteous. The people that ride these motorboats are very, very courteous and very accommodating. If I said to him, take a slight detour, he probably would have done that for me. So this is really a great way of traveling. And this is, of course, what the Palazzo looked like from a distance. I've shown this before. And we were staying in the hotel, which was the very top level. And we did not have a view of the Grand Canal from our room because that was going to cost an extra $100, which I just did not feel like spending. This is what the dock looks like across from the Rialto section. You can see the Palazzo Bembo further down in this picture on the left side. And so what we're looking at now is the opposite side of the Grand Canal, which is an area that I spoke about last week when we did the neighborhoods of Venice. And you can see that there's the Rialto Bridge is right on the left side. You just see the handrail that you use to get down over there on the left side. And this is what it looks like directly opposite the hotel. On the other side, there's restaurants and a lot of activity. This is the side where the hotel is, so the entrance is over there on the left. And this actually was the entrance to the hotel. And that's one of the restaurants on the same side. And this is actually what the hotel looked like as we walked in, so I thought this would be very nice to kind of show. So here it is. This is walking into the hotel. It's unusual because it was just one level. It's just a B&B, so that's the whole front desk, just this one little desk at the front. And there were 2 or 3 different people who sat there. The person that we dealt with over the internet was Matteo, who was very, very accommodating. That's a little lounge. You see, the lounge is very small, just really 2 couches facing each other. But I sat there quite a lot. And then the breakfast area, which was not set up for breakfast because this was later in the day, with a very nice piano there, which we had actually never heard, and some tables. And then, of course, could you cut the sound on the video at this point? On the actual video, just?
I do when you're talking.
Okay, if that's fine. And this is the entrance to our room,
neat?
which I
No,
couldn't
it's
go
not.
in because it had not been, it was later in the day and it looked a little in disarray, and that's, of course, going out. So the hotel itself was, very small, but it was very elegant and very, very lovely. And one of the things we did when we stayed in this hotel was we got a chance to, this is the advantage to staying in different hotels, because you actually get a chance to explore the area. And you could do that staying in any hotel in Venice, just, cross a bridge or take a Vaporetto ride somewhere and just explore. And we do that as well. But when you're staying in a particular area, it's different because you kind of feel more relaxed, a part of that area, and you explore it at different times of the day. So you could go out in the morning or the afternoon or at night or when it gets dark. You just kind of explore. And one of the things we did was we were exploring some unique place to have dinner because we weren't near our favorite restaurants. And in the San Marco area, we came across this restaurant, which looked very, very nice. And it had a very good reputation. It's called Al Vaporetto. And it's a trotteria, as you'll see in a couple of moments. And it's billed as a ristorante e pizzeria. So they tried to give it kind of, and this is a very clever technique from a restaurant's point of view, is they're giving it the formal veneer of a restaurant and also telling you that you could just come in and have a pizza if you'd like. And this is the owner of the restaurant, whom I had the opportunity to meet. He was a very, very nice man. His name is Marco, and that's his unbelievably adorable son, Albion. And, the son was really fascinated by the whole concept of videos. And I'm in deep conversation with Marco, as you could see. But the son couldn't care less. He was just, wondering about, what he's going to look like on television. And he was adorable. I just found the whole family to be very cute. That was the restaurant. And I was actually asking the owner if I could do an interview with him. And he said yes. He was saying to me at this moment, yes, you can, but not now. You could do it at my other restaurant tomorrow, a couple of nights from now. And I was like eagerly, listening to what he was saying. This is what the restaurant, part of the restaurant looked like. And this is, we actually came there with our cousin Barbara Batra on the right and our friend Barbara Velasquez on the left, and they had come to this restaurant with us. They, of course, came to Venice with us, so it was really wonderful having, very close people with you here. This is the street that the restaurant is located on, and as you can see, it's a well-populated street that has both, tourists and locals. There's a little boy on a scooter there, so that was kind of cute. And this is me with Marco and Albion taking the picture, and just me with Marco. He was a really nice man. And this is the restaurant, and we sat at the tables on the left side, and that was one of the waiters who, very nice. You can see it's an informal kind of place. Even though it's billed as a restaurant, they want to give it this informal kind of look, so it's kind of informal looking. And the pizza here was fabulous. And they have this really beautiful mural of Venice, which I thought was very nice. And there are people enjoying the meal, and you could see the fellow on the left side is just kind of wearing, a T-shirt. So people go into restaurants in Venice, unless it's a very, very, very fancy restaurant, they go into restaurants wearing anything. And these are two of the pictures he had on the wall. And that's me taking notes, but Laura said, Alan, look up for a moment, and there I am, with my press badge on my left lapel and wearing my famous Tilly hat. And these are some people from the back. The fellow on the left was the pizza chef, and the fellow on the right was our waiter. And they were very proud to show off what they, had. And there's, Albion, who's 9 years old, looking at his computer. And there's the other waiter we had with Albion. Albion wanted to be in every picture because he was just, fascinated by the whole concept. That was a model ship that they had in the restaurant just to decorate it. And this is actually another restaurant that we were in when we visited Rick and Sharon in Venice, because Rick and Sharon were there as well. They chose a restaurant for us in their neighborhood, which was in right near the train station in the Cannaregio area. And this was the restaurant, and that in the picture is Sharon on the right, and our friend Susan on the left. And there's Rick, whom you've seen many times on this show. In fact, Rick is going to be on the show in 3 weeks on the 20th. When he does, he and I are doing a show, Michelangelo in Rome. So he's going to analyze the sculpture and all the arts. That'll be fun. And there's Sharon and Susan. And this is our friend Ellie, who came with us along with Rick. And I'm lecturing on some topic, that's what I do. And there's Rick doing his share as well. Rick is, as you know, very well versed in what goes on in Italy, having lived there, and they were actually staying in an apartment that was not far from the restaurant, with Ellie listening carefully, and our friend Barbara, who lives in Woodstock with us. It's a great picture of Barbara. And this is, everybody who was at the dinner that night, the two Barbaras and Susan and Sharon and Rick and Ellie and me. And me and Ellie sharing a tiramisu. That was a pretty good tiramisu, if I remember correctly. And then we went to the third hotel. And this is where I was really apprehensive because, number one, I've never stayed in the Castello area. And number two, this was a completely unknown hotel to me. Prior to um, seeing it, having it spoken about by the people at the Palazzo Bembo, I'd never even heard of this hotel. And I did research, and it sounded good, but I was very apprehensive. So this is the third hotel, and as promised, the hotel took our luggage. You know, they kind of felt compelled, you know, responsible for us to a certain degree once we stayed at the Palazzo Bembo for the 4 nights. So they said, don't worry, we'll take you to the other hotel and we'll take care of all the arrangements, don't worry. And this fellow is a porter whose job it is to do things like that. So he took our luggage and we just followed behind him. And he took us down the streets of Venice to this palazzo. And you can see that it's a 4-star hotel, the Palazzo Pruili. And this is the neighborhood. And it was an absolutely delightful neighborhood. You could see that, and this neighborhood is right behind San Marco, the Piazza San Marco. So when I heard that, I said, oh, this is going to be a really crowded area. But, you know, it's only one night, because we don't like, you know, really crowded areas, although the Rialto area was crowded for the previous hotel. But look, you can see that this is a very nice kind of peaceful area. And this is a view looking in the other direction. And not only was it you know, just beautiful, but you see the restaurant on the left side there, on the left side of the railing, kind of in this, just off the left center of the picture, is where we had lunch right on the canal, so it was really lovely. And this is what the hotel looked like. I took a few pictures. I didn't take very many pictures, and the pictures did not come out very good. They were a little blurry because I was using my iPhone and it was indoors, and you know, you can't do much in terms of adjusting your camera when you're using an iPhone. But this is what the hotel looked like. It was very pretty, and it had this very steep steps to get to your room. And I just was interested in that. I love steps because it kind of adds to the ambiance of the hotel. This was the floor we stayed on, and it was actually the floor of the breakfast room. So similar to the previous hotel, the Palazzo Bembo, this was also on the floor that the breakfast room was located. So that was pretty convenient. And also a little lounge, as you can see over there. And this is what a typical breakfast looks like in Italy. They usually give you a grapefruit juice, an orange juice, and there's a pitcher of water. And then there are, you know, a couple of other, you could ask for cappuccino. It's not, of course it's not out, but you could ask for it. This was very interesting because this was, and I asked, why is this, you know, why is there rope on this chair? And they said this is an actual chair from the 16th century. So this is the type of seating they had in the 16th century. In the hotel, the palazzo goes back to that time. You can see there's also a chair behind it. In fact, you can see there's 2 chairs behind it. The one straight back is the one from the 16th century. The one on the right side with the red seat is a modern chair, and of course you could sit in that, but they don't want you to sit in one of the, you know, 500-year-old chairs for obvious reasons. And this is the other side of the breakfast room, which actually had the cereal, and there's like some hard-boiled eggs there, and some jam, and you know, it was very, very elegant and very, very nice. And this was this little, this is our room. This is what the room looked like, which, you know, when I walked in, I said, wow, this is really beautiful. So this is a really well-decorated room, and the bed looks like it was from the 16th century, but I don't think it was. And that's a good view of the bed. It was kind of interesting. And then, you know, we kind of walked in the area, and this is, you know, walking around the area. And there's the restaurant over there on the right side where we had our lunch. And this is a panoramic shot using my iPhone of what the whole view was as we step out of the hotel looking at all of the things that capture your eye. You know, you see people taking pictures and 3 canals kind of combining into this one spot. So this was a really delightful area right there. And I was taken by this sight of two people wheeling strollers. So, and these looked like tourists. You could see they have, you know, kind of a backpack on them. So these are tourists, and people want to be in Venice, and they take their children with them. Now, that night, one of the nights that we were, I mean, the one night that we were at the hotel, was the night that I was supposed to meet Marco, and Marco and I were supposed to have our big interview. And he wanted us to have the interview at his other restaurant, and this is a restaurant with the same name, Al Vaporetto, but instead of being called Al Vaporetto San Marco, it was called Al Vaporetto Castello. And he said that his son, his older son, whose name is Albiano. You know, I forgot to write his name. The name of the son down. Oh, Albano. Albano was his name. So Albion was the younger son, and Albano was the name of the older son who was running the restaurant. And when we got to the restaurant, Albano said that my father can't be there. He's detained at his restaurant, so he can't do the interview. We were very disappointed. But nonetheless, we had dinner here. And this is Albano on the left, and his sister Anita, who's 14 years old, and she was helping him run the restaurant. And there's actually another child that Marco has, and her name is Valentina. Excuse me, this is Valentina. I think this is Valentina, and she's 14. And Anita is the 17-year-old who's in college learning how to, do restaurateur, learning to be a restaurateur. So she's not in the picture, but it's obviously a very good-looking family, as you could see. And, Marco, the boss, is married for 25 years to his wife, whose name is Amina. And I don't have a picture of. But this was an interesting restaurant, and this was some of the places around that restaurant. This is the restaurant that we turned down eating at because we had an appointment to speak with Marco, but he didn't show up, of course. And this is where we would have gone for dinner. But I said, we have to go to the other place because I have the interview. So anyway, the final part of our story is the motorboat trip back to the Marco Polo Airport in Venice. And this is a very interesting ride, and that's why I threw it in. This was the spot that we were picking up the motorboat that would bring us to the airport. And this is very unusual because usually when we used to take motorboats from hotels, like for example the Pensione Accademia, this is what it looked like at this particular location. So you see that we actually had to bring all the luggage, and there's the porter over there on the left side who was, getting to know us pretty well by now. And he brought us to this spot, which was, I would say, a 5-minute walk from the hotel. And they could do this, if you're not staying at a hotel that's right on a canal without a dock, then you have to be taken to one. And that's what took place there. We were brought to this spot, and he was waiting with us for the motorboat. And we waited about 15 minutes until the motorboat arrived. And at one point, I got very nervous and said to him, "Where's the motorboat?" And he made a phone call, and he said, "It'll be here any minute." And sure enough, it was. Now, as I said, we're not used to this because this is the way we get a motorboat at the Hotel Pensione Accademia. And that's a picture of our friend David and, of course, Laura about to get on a motorboat. And we don't have to go very far. All we have to do is walk out of the front entrance, walk to the dock, and there's the motorboat. So this was a little unusual for us. But once we got on the boat, as you could see, I'm pretty happy because I don't have to do much thinking at this point. And I'm on the boat. And this is just before we got on. This is actually just before the boat actually arrived. And this is probably a view of me seeing the motorboat coming. So I was very happy about that. And as we rode on the motorboat to the airport, these are some of the sights we passed. And we thought that this was really quite amazing because this was an area of Venice in which we've never been. So this was really unusual. And you could see, this will give you an idea, yet another idea, because I did that last week with the neighborhoods, of some of the really, really interesting neighborhoods in Venice and how beautiful and charming they are. I like this picture, even though it sort of looks like a little dilapidated, because this gives you an idea as to, you know, how old Venice really is. When you look at Venice and you see that some of it is crumbling, you have to keep in mind that this city has been there for 1,000 years, for more than 1,000 years. And this building was not there for 1,000 years, I'm certain of it, but it was probably there from the 15th or 16th century. And generally what they do is, you can see that part of it has facing on it, but if part of the facing is you know, falls off, they don't do much to repair that, and they leave the brick exposed, which kind of gives it this added flavor of, you know, of the fact that it's so old. And, you know, Laura loves these pictures of the entrances to places, and I do too, as a matter of fact. I think it really gives you an idea. And these are some of the views that we passed along the way. And you could see that it's really, Venice is a beautiful, beautiful city. Away from the tourists. Another of those door pictures, you can see the motorboat, and that motorboat probably belongs to the people who live in that house, because they usually have it pulled up right up to the front door. And you could see that this is, you know, this is where Venetians live, because you could see there's the laundry being done, being dried on the window on the left side. And this is what it looks like when you live in Venice, and you're just kind of, you know, this is how you live. This is a view of the motorboat as it was driving through the streets of Venice. From the back of the boat, that picture we took, the video we took of going to the Palazzo Bembo was a video from the front of the boat. This is actually what it looks like from the back of the boat. And you could see how just absolutely amazing the houses look. Obviously, you know, some kind of a technical school, because it says there, Instituto Tecnica, and I think so. This is probably a technical school, technical institute. And we're starting to get now into the outskirts of Venice, because you could see in the distance over there, sort of straight ahead and slightly to the left, the open, you know, sort of the open area. And, you know, this is turning back towards the other way and viewing one of the side streets. And probably this is looking backwards at what we had just been to. And you can see the modern touches on this very, very old building, this medieval building. And now we're about to enter what's called the Venetian Lagoon. So we're now out of Venice, and we're about to enter the Venetian Lagoon, and you can see the open seas over there on the right side. And that's the first view you get when you emerge from one of these side streets looking out at some of the islands. And that island, I believe, is the island known as Cimitero, which is Italian for cemetery. That's where the cemetery is. And, you know, as you ride along the side, you know, we're not completely out at sea right now, so we're out in the Venetian Lagoon, but we're not quite headed towards the airport, and this is what it looks like as you look back, and you can see there's construction going on over there. And here's a view of a lot of construction. This looks like it's going to be probably an apartment building, probably condominiums, with a pretty spectacular view if you were looking in the opposite direction, and that's actually what the view they got. So, you know, eventually you will get an apartment, somebody will get an apartment, many people will get apartments in this place with this view, so that's pretty nice. And again, this is looking back towards towards Venice itself. And the street that runs alongside of the lagoon is called a fondamenta. So this gives you a view of all the different fondamente. And these are deserted areas. Like the tourists just do not go to this area. And this is, I think, the Fondamenta Nuovo, which is a very, very big Vaporetto stop where all the boats that are going to the islands, such as Murano and Burano and Torcello, and probably also Cimatero, they all come here. So this is the fine, if you're taking a boat from anywhere in Venice out to Murano, you first have to come to this spot, and then you switch boats to another boat, and that'll take you to one of the outlying islands. And that's looking back at Venice. And I get the impression that the boat is about to pick up speed because you can see in the wake, it's sort of about to, move faster. And there's that feeling of that the boat is picking up steam now, because you can see that it's really starting to move out into sea. And as you see the sign over there on the right side, the Solidarity sign, that's probably related to the Movimento Cinque Stelle, which is going to be next week's show. And I need a few minutes, of course, to talk about that a little bit before I close for tonight. But this is out into the seas now. We're about to pass, and now we're in the open seas. And there are actually sea lanes. And they're designated by those buoys out there. So this is what it looks like, and it gets pretty congested. It looks like those two boats are about to collide, but they know what they're doing, and this is what it looks like. And we're getting further and further now away from Venice, headed out to the seas. And I'm not sure what that piece of land is over there, but I know that's not the Cimatero. But we're headed now, and now it's really picking up steam. As you can see, the boat is leaving a much bigger wake. And we're going pretty fast now. And this is, I'm not sure what this is, to tell you the truth. I guess we're getting close to land at one point. But I can't tell you what this is. But that's a view, that's not our boat. That's a view that I took on my phone from our boat, looking at a motorboat that was passing us. And that's what it looks like on the open seas. Pretty nice way to travel. There's Laura sitting on the boat. And there's me, and we're about to get to the airport at this point. And there it is. As you get closer, you look out of the boat, and there's an airplane right there. So that's a pretty amazing sight. And that's the only picture I took of the airport, so I threw that in. And of course, we are now docking at the airport dock, and we're about to get out. There's our luggage over there in the front, and we're about to step out of the boat. And this is what it looks like actually docking. This is what the inside of the boat looked like from our point of view, looking at our suitcases. And we're about to step onto those steps. And I think that brings us to the end of tonight's show. Now, the next show, which is next week, is going to be it's exciting for me, and it'll be, I hope, exciting for my audience. I call it Italy's Miracle Election, and it's about the Movimento Cinque Stelle, and those are the three of the people, the many people, who made the miracle happen. And those are the two fellows on the left and on the right, are the two people who ran for office as this movement. And as I've said many times, although it bears only small resemblance to our Occupy Wall Street movement, that was their movement. And these are two of the representatives. The fellow on the left was a local town official, and the fellow on the right was actually a member of their equivalent of the House of Representatives. And I have videos of them telling us all about their experience, and that'll be next week's show. The fellow in the middle is Andrea Martellini, whom you may remember I interviewed last year, and his interview was on one of my shows called Italy in Their Own Words. He actually set up this whole interview with us, for us, and that'll take place, it actually takes place in the town of Foligno Valdarno, and that'll be pretty interesting, and I hope you tune into that, because you're going to get a chance to really meet two people who performed an unbelievable miracle of breaking through the Italian political system. And that brings us to the end. And I'd like to thank you very much for watching this evening. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you tune in next week. And until then, buona notte e buona fortuna.